Welcome back to the Kerrnel Does 80 Days. We are on day 57 and time is running out. We are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on the Water Lily. And I guess we're just kind of passing time by racing to the boiler room. Let's see. Are we going to offer an alternative or impress them with my speed? I think offer an alternative. Having no great desire to sprint through the ill-lit echoing ship's corridors, which I probably would have lost anyway. Their commander, a short Japanese-American woman, gave me the look of scorn. What do you suggest? I demanded a drinking contest. A grin of vicious, unqualified glee spread across Commander Davis's face. I began to think my suggestion a poor one. 3 flasks of sake later, I was convinced of my grave error. Commander Davis was apparently legendary for her ability to hold her drink, whereas I ended the evening in an unexpected embrace with a starboard bulkhead. Perhaps one of my more successful adventures. Converse. Oh, Reverend. Passepartout, good day to you. San Francisco. They say that San Francisco is one of the most advanced American cities. Omaha? One can travel aboard the Canadian Pacific Railway from Regina to Winnipeg, yes. Omaha to... Winnipeg. Well, the quickest way to Winnipeg from here is via Calgary. Now tell me, I find the Book of Job most helpful, don't you? Yes. Sometimes I think the young people simply do not read scripture anymore. They don't. Calgary. I know that the quickest way to Calgary is from here is through thank you, Gastown. Really, I couldn't talk to you anything about it. Gastown to Regina. I told my uncle design parts for the Western and Atlantic Railroad from Chicago to Atlanta. Yeah, I don't care about those. Alright, Chicago to Atlanta. What? I was climbing the rigging entirely as exercise, of course, and not at all for the purposes of spying on the crew to appease my own rapacious curiosity, when I heard 2 of the crewmen arguing in a pidgin mix of... Is that how you say pigeon? Pidgin mix of English and Japanese. I closed my eyes and listened to their voices. Only a few words were audible over the howling of the wind. Shrine, heathen, worship, before a sudden scream rent the air. One of the sailors was falling from the platform's edge. I was unable to look away. As he fell, his body lay still and crumpled on the deck, but I heard his scream in my head for days after. I looked up and managed to catch sight of the fallen sailor's companion, his face still and pallid. Was that guilt in his eyes or merely shock? He slipped away before the captain arrived, and I followed him. He retired to the crew quarters, and I began to hear the sound of desperate muttered prayers. Interesting. That was interesting. The Water Lily's crew held a funeral for the dead sailor. I was not specifically invited, but I felt a sense of responsibility. Having witnessed the man's fatal plunge, Captain Wicker led the Christian service with customary grimness. I was surprised by the absence of the American minister, of the sailor's companion, who had been arguing with him just before his fall. Yet he was not the only one missing from the funeral. Oddly, only half of the crew had come to pay their respects. I asked my neighbor about this breach of custom, and she narrowed her eyes. Joseph was a convert, she told me defiantly. The captain taught him to read the Bible himself. The rest of the crew are heathens. They stay away from our godly ceremonies. Oh. Converse with Mademoiselle. Why, hello. You know what? Let's just continue on. Storm. Too exhausted to write a proper entry. Suffice to say we are still afloat as we settle down for the night. I was struck by an unrelated thought. Monsieur Fogg, the dateline. I have altered our watch already, Monsieur Fogg replied calmly. Did you think I might forget? My master was, of course, correct. With an eye such as his, it was unthinkable that he might miss such a detail. We had reached the point directly opposite Greenwich. Imagine what might have transpired had we forgotten. We'd reached the point directly opposite Greenwich where the hours we had lost in traveling around the Earth were added back. A whole extra day, yes! Can use that. Let's wait. Oh, last seen in Yokohama. Interesting. Maybe I should have waited on that. Yesterday's storm hit us with little warning. One moment I was preparing Monsieur Fogg's shaving water to exactly the right temperature. The next we were being tossed from one end of the cabin to the other. We were only lucky that the bed was securely nailed to the floor. The ship shuddered and moaned. Rain clattered across our iron hull, nearly drowning out the shouts of the crew. The storm lasted nearly 6 hours and blew us far off course. No! The captain spent most of the day peering at his charts, trying to locate our position. There is no land anywhere upon the horizon. Day 60, Monsieur Fogg murmured that night in his sleep, and still some distance yet to travel. No. No, no, no. Honolulu? We're going to Honolulu? No. I think you'll be disappointed with... Oh, man. Not good. Not good. Captain announced a change of destination. The Water Lily would now make for nearby Hawaii rather than San Francisco. We would make port in Honolulu in 5 days and would have to find our own further conveyance from there. Honolulu sounded one. Monsieur Flagg's lips pressed ever so slightly together, a rare outward sign of entirely understandable annoyance. This will not do. Indeed not, sir, I agreed, not even daring to calculate the delay and expense our unexpected diversion would cause. Mr. Fogg gave me a cool, appraising glance. Captain Wicker has reneged upon his word as a gentleman, he said curtly, before lowering his voice to an almost furtive undertone. Our course is clear. We must mutiny. Oh, I'm with you, man. I agree wholeheartedly, but he continued on without so much as a pause. See to it, Passepartout. Use your natural charm. I interjected. Use your natural charm, I interjected brightly. Quite, he said, with his agreeableness of a gentleman who has just given his valet a near Herculean task. We will mutiny in 5 days when we reach Honolulu. Make your preparations as you see fit. Oh my god, what am I supposed to do here? Fogg now in debt. Yeah, I know. My task was clear. I was to foment mutiny aboard the Water Lily. I decided to begin by exploiting the crew's animosity towards one another. Divide and conquer, or so dear Madame Maman always counseled. I considered inflaming their religious passions. Gossip and rumor would be a good way to start. I like this one. It's more usually a safe... How to word that? People are usually more passionate about this, is what I'm trying to say. Though such passions were, by their nature, unpredictable. So I decided to desecrate the Shinto shrine, steal the captain's wall-mounted crucifix, spread rumors about the Shinto crew members, gossip about the captain. Planning to forcibly convert all the Shinto crew when we reach port. Some of the younger members seemed alarmed, but the others merely laughed off the possibility. Okay. Fogg said to have crossed the date line, but will extra day be enough? I'm thinking no. It was with satisfaction that I noticed a certain increase in tension aboard the Water Lily. A situation I would carefully have to exacerbate if my master's mutiny was to have chance of success. Next, I attempted to ingratiate myself with Commander Davis and the submariners, the Chinese laborers. Commander Davis and the submariners, who were rather storm-tossed and disgruntled. There are no storms underwater, the commander muttered, her hair with a tangle underneath her cap. We should have submerged, I said. We should have submerged, I agreed. Captain Wicker risked all our lives. I think perhaps he does not trust your ability as submariners. The commander's face darkened at my assertion. Perhaps you are right at that, she said. Perhaps so. I took my leave, giving my seed of doubt some time to sprout in my absence. Converse. How's your health, Monsieur Fogg? I am in roaring health, but we must make haste. You must find a route that will get as close to Europe as possible. Very good. I had attempted to suborn the obvious targets aboard the Water Lily, but wars were often won by the unexpected. With that in mind, I turned my attention upon the ship's artificer, a tall, rather imposing woman in a short jacket embroidered with the guild's copper lily. Artificers were notoriously neutral in the matter of conflict or civil disruption. But I bribed her with 50 pounds. Or rather, I should say I tried to bribe her. She slapped me before throwing the money at my feet. Do not, she warned, towering over me intimidatingly, ever try to bribe an artificer. Astrakhan to export mud as healing salve. I spent the day putting the last finishing touches to my planned mutiny. It was a matter of as delicate and serious as the creation of a souffle by a master chef. I spread word of my signal amongst my allies. And stayed up late, ensuring every man and woman was on my side was true. There we go. Follow it up, man. Who are we conversing with? Davis, Honolulu, King Kamehameha is a devout Christian. King Kamehameha, the King Kamehameha. I loved Magnum P.I. That was an awesome show. My favorite show. One of them of all time. We reached Honolulu in the dark. The captain took a small skiff into the harbor with a few of his officers, wishing to inquire about repairs before putting the Water Lily into dry dock. Monsieur Fogg watched the boat for a long moment. Now is the time, he said crisply. I trust everything is in order. I assured him it was, and he nodded, having expected no other response. Let us hope so. With that, my master retreated to his cabin, and I called the signal to arms. The Water Lily erupted into chaos. Everywhere was the clash of sabers and pistols. Now and then I heard the shriek of the officers' sonic weapons. But I was not alone. The half of the crew that followed the Shinto creed fell in behind me, lit with the desire to teach their Christian crewmates a lesson rather than mutiny, but their anger helped stoke the fires of rebellion. The Chinese laborers rewarded by friendship with a steadfast loyalty, throwing themselves into mutiny with all the desperation of men and women who utterly loathed sea travel and longed to revenge themselves upon their instrument of torment in any fashion. They lit fires and tore up the already ragged sails, causing some welcome chaos. The submariners, led by Commander Davis, emerged quietly. There was a long, terrible moment when I wondered at their allegiance. Then Commander Davis caught my eye and nodded. We know when it is time for change, she shouted, driving back any stragglers loyal to Captain Wicker. By noon, it was clear that all of our efforts were for naught, however. The mutiny did not have the support and numbers required to defeat those who had maintained their loyalty. Captain Wicker and the other officers returned just in time to smother the last flames of rebellion. My master and I were trussed up and set off at the port of Honolulu, begged to be allowed to remain on board. I don't want to go to Honolulu, man. Let's beg to remain on board. But the captain laughed. I may be a gentleman, he declared, but I'm not a fool. It was only due to Captain Wicker's good grace that we retained our luggage. Our mutinous comrades were not treated with such leniency and were thrown unceremoniously below. That was, Monsieur Fogg said with icy precision as we stood up on the strand of the volcanic island on which we found ourselves, rather badly done. Unfortunately, I could not disagree. Crap. We'll have to sleep here and explore in the morning. Yes, we will. It was as though Honolulu lived in one indrawn breath. A wheeling swath of sky, white-laced waves, and pristine sand bounded by black volcanic bluffs. The town was barely hidden behind groves of coconut and eucalyptus. We rested in a comfortable palm top. We took a short tour. "You look," said our coach driver, Hila, like city folk. "And what do they... I was born in Paris," I nodded. My first breath was of her smoke and perfume. "So you are like the great and sleepless city of Paris, always in a rush." He murmured something to his horse, which looked well fed and high-spirited. As a young man, I went to San Francisco to make my fortune. I too ran and scrabbled in pursuit of the almighty dollar. We are neither running nor scrabbling, I pointed out with affronted dignity, but I had to look away from Hilahila's calm look. Our adventure thus far had been somewhat harum-scarum. Barely had we placed our toes on dry land, then we were looking to depart. Oh, I had seen so many wonders, and yet each had been ultimately reduced to another mark in my master's ledger. "Do you not wish the freedom to exhale, Passepartout?" the coach driver asked. "To stop running and simply feel the wind upon your face and the sun warming you and the sound of ocean like a heartbeat?" "I will take my moments where I may." Hila. With my master, that is where I find peace. Or, if not peace, then surely it is purpose, and that is much the same. The coach driver sighed and turned his face up to the endless sky. "A man may find himself here," he told me, "but only if he wishes it." He invited us to his home that evening and fed us dough-like poi and bright-fleshed slices of orange and guava. And I thought for once about peace and purpose, but I still thought of the marks in Monsieur Fogg's ledger and the distances we had yet to travel. I knew no peace in Honolulu, but my purpose burned bright and drew me ever forward. We finished our night in Honolulu with a souvenir, a swirling conch shell collected from the beach as we walked back to our lodgings. Conch shells should fetch a good price in Dallas? I don't want to freaking go to Dallas. New routes discovered. I don't want to go to Manila. That's backwards. Oh. Oh. It took a few hours to explore, learning possibilities for how we might go forth. Oh, how much is this going to cost, though? £1,000 arrives on Wednesday. This is painful. Waste of time. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Alright, let's do that. What's in the market? Oh, a harmonica. Omaha, New Orleans, Buffalo Hide, Acapulco, Omaha, Smith & Wesson, New Orleans. Black Cylinder, Gastown, Conch Shell in Dallas. Let's play it again. So if we go up here, Salt Lake, Cheyenne, Omaha. I think we're going to have to go to Omaha. Although, is this a rail line? So this is by boat. Oh, what is this? I think we need to go to Calgary. We need to go to Calgary. Okay. Honolulu. And we don't have anything that we need in the market, I don't think. Not to mention, I think we need to save our money anyway. Alright. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to Dallas. Hotel. Past an anxious night, with our 80-day deadline looming, every sunset seemed to carry extra weight. With what remained of the day, I washed and hung our linen. A few hours walking around, found a charming American artist who had lost a purse, which I helped to find, who then, in between fits of laughter, let it slip that you could buy revolvers in Salt Lake City. Extremely valuable in New Orleans. I assured him we were unlikely to head that way, to which our friend laughed. I can't understand travel, and still look where I am. Alright, whatever that means. Embark. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Board of the stream barge from Honolulu to San Francisco. The scent of ripe bananas pervaded every plank of decking and bulkhead. A sweet and deliciously rotting odor, which I rather became accustomed to on the voyage, much to the detriment of my keen sense of smell. International jewel thief, the Black Rose, Fox's French police. Alright, we're on a banana boat. Arg, I huffed, attempting to convince my mouth that I ate fried kippers and potatoes at breakfast. Everything smells of bananas. Monsieur Fogg replied that he could not smell a thing, which I took to be his queerly English sense of humor at work. Still, if bananas were to be the worst of my troubles... aboard this boat, then that would be no bad thing. I woke in the middle of the night, convinced that someone was in the cabin with me. I stayed very still and listened. There was a long, wave-lapped silence until I heard distinctly a dragging shuffle. I lunged in the direction of the noise and hit something soft and person-shaped and familiar. Monsieur Fogg, I cried, and my midnight visitor blinked and straightened and looked about my cabin in genteel surprise. What, he said calmly, pulling his dressing gown closed, am I doing in your cabin, Passepartout? You would know better than I, monsieur, I exclaimed passionately, rather upturned by his sudden appearance. He took a sharp breath. It seems I have been sleepwalking, he said, his voice almost tremulous. I have not done so since I was a child. Please accept my apologies. Would you like to stay for a while? I asked, sensing his agitation. I am awake, after all. He hesitated for a long moment. I would like that, thank you. What does that mean? Converse. Passepartout, take my arm for a moment. San Francisco, Salt Lake City, Omaha. New Orleans is linked to Washington aboard the P-Mount airline. What? That's not what I asked about. Alright, I'm done with you. That dirigible. Got 10 freaking days, man. Captain Kalani was a heavily pregnant Hawaiian woman who found Monsieur Fogg's English accent a source of great mirth. Say something else, she demanded over breakfast. Please, Mr. Fogg. I distracted her with some idle talk, and my master cast me a grateful look. All in a day's work for a valet of my unimpeachable caliber. Of course, I don't know why he got mad at me before, though. I woke to a frantic knocking at my door and opened it to find Monsieur Fogg actually wringing his hands. Passepartout, he said, his breath hitching. Come quickly. I followed him with grim alacrity. What is wrong, monsieur? I cried, certain that something truly unspeakable was afoot, and I was not wrong. My master opened the door to his cabin to reveal Captain Kalani, red-faced and moaning. Oh my God, she's having birth. Oh God. She turned her baleful gaze in our direction. "I'm having my baby early," she hissed, sweat upon her upper lip. "You must help me. Surely your crew is better suited to this. What should I do?" I had intended to ask a question, but it came out more like a shout. "Will one of you hold my bloody hand and the other fetch some blasted water?" she retorted. I glanced at Monsieur Fogg, who said, "I will fetch the water," and left me to hold Captain Kalani's hand. "Well, are you in much pain?" is a stupid question. "Is baby's father not on board?" Grimacing as she squeezed my fingers so hard I feared I would be left with pulp. "He is at home," she gasped, "tending the farm. Can we get on?" "Sorry to keep you." Monsieur Fogg returned with a bucket of water, but our respite was short-lived. Captain Kalani parted her knees. "One of you," she said authoritatively, "must catch the baby." Oh my god. Can you imagine? I steeled myself to the role and relinquished her hand to Monsieur Fogg. I tried to compose my expression into something cool and medical and detached, but I fear it met with mixed success at best. After an infinitely long, infinitely terrifying interval, which I have not the means to describe, I held a small, squalling, red-faced baby in my arms. I took off my own jacket and wiped the birth fluids from the baby's face, calling it a worthwhile loss. Then I gave it to her. "It is a girl," I said into the sudden hush. Captain Kalani was sweaty and wild-eyed and utterly exhausted. She held the baby to her chest as though it were an infinitely precious thing. She began to sing to her little girl the song of whales and ocean waves and airships that hung like moons in the sky. Aww. Captain Kalani's indisposition the previous day did not delay us in the least. She had a well-trained and loyal crew who seemed to have collectively adopted her little girl as one of her own. "I will call her Jean." "Jean?" "Jean," Captain Kalani told us as we tethered at San Francisco. "You are excellent midwives." I was overcome and ducked my head like a boy from the countryside. "The name suits her, madame," I said. "She will wear it better than I have." "Oh, that's me, Jean." I turned towards San Francisco Bay with renewed hope. After all, whatever challenges it offered could scarcely be more taxing than those we had just overcome. We got 8 friggin' days. Not gonna happen. Explore. Oh, man. San Francisco seemed less a city and more a ravenous beast bent on consumption of everything, even of itself. Within the ever-expanding city limits, enormous steam-powered drills and diggers flattened hills. The building works made it tricky to talk to anyone. Alright, we're going to call it an episode. We'll probably finish maybe in the next 1 or 2 episodes, I would imagine. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to leave them below. And until next episode, please do take care.